Hello and welcome back to Traffic Talks. This is going to be a very rough, unedited version of my story time because it's extremely late. I'm trying to do this as quietly as possible, and I procrastinated a lot on getting this done because of my injury. So I'm going to get to that, but that's just preparing you for what's about to happen. So, this is my story time of what happened weeks ago, why I took a sudden break from podcasting. I would like to firstly apologize for not uploading last week. Like I said, I'll get to that explanation in a moment. So, from the beginning, I had inexplicable pain on Sunday. Let me just check the date so I can give you a proper timeline. So it was Sunday, the 24th of May. I had inexplicable back pain on like my right lower back to the point where I could not stand up. My brother gave me a hot water bottle. I was laying on my stomach and I had this hot water bottle on my back the entire time. I literally strapped it to myself, and that allowed me to be mobile. But if I didn't have it on me, I would be fine for about 2-3 minutes and then useless again. It was intense. I wake up on the morning of the 25th. It's a Monday. I'm ready to go to work, and I suddenly have this intense pain in my front right side, and I can't stand. I'm struggling to breathe. It's just intense pain. And I shout and I call out to my brother to come to me, and he does, and I'm just like, I need to go to hospital right now. I've never felt pain like this. I don't know what it is, but I need to go to hospital. Like, I know cramps, I know aches, I know pains, but this inexplicable, I don't know what it is, like, get me to a hospital. And he is such an incredible person. He's just like, okay, just breathe, I'm gonna get the car. He tells my mom, like, I'm taking her to hospital. My mom comes upstairs, she helps me put on shoes, my gown, and before you know it, we're off to hospital. So before anything happens at a hospital, since we are in times of COVID, they first test you. Like, they swab you and things, but instead of doing the proper testing, they literally just ask you a bunch of questions on a page, take your temperature, and then send you further into the hospital, which honestly is beyond me. But anyway, I get in the hospital, and then they first make you fill out paperwork while in agonizing pain, and I did. I at times the pain was so intense I had to literally just stop, try and breathe through it, and then continue, which I managed to get through. And this was about 7 in the morning. I was checked into the hospital by about 8, and the day was honestly a blur. That first day, I don't remember much. I remember being in hospital the morning, being rushed through the emergency room, having an IV. Well, not immediately. I got to my little room for the emergency, and they were like, okay, we need to test your urine. So you needed to pee in this little thing. But I didn't need to pee. And then I remember standing there and literally throwing up. But nothing came out. It was like just liquid. Not fun. They took blood tests. They put me on an IV because I hadn't eaten since the night before. And then they gave me medicine through the drip. And the rest of the day was a blur. I remember going for a scan because they couldn't figure out where the pain was coming from. They thought it was my appendix, and then it didn't turn out to be that. They thought it was my ovaries. It wasn't that, or they couldn't see. And then eventually, by about 2 p.m., so 8 o'clock the morning till 2 p.m., I hadn't eaten. I was literally passing out constantly because of the pain, and then I ended up having to go from that hospital to a different hospital. So 2 p.m. I leave that hospital. I get to the other hospital and checked in by about, not checked in, I arrive inside the hospital at about 3 p.m. and I only get helped by about 9 p.m. the evening. So I spent Sunday in agony, Monday in and out from one hospital to the next, and I only got seen hours later. And this is all the while I'm constantly passing out from pain. I haven't eaten since Sunday, and I'm just in agony, and they can't figure out what's wrong. So that was Sunday and Monday. Tuesday, I'm overnight in hospital. Tuesday, they wake me up, and there's a doctor, and the doctor's like, okay, we're going to send you for x-rays and see what's wrong. I go for x-rays, I come back, there's now 2 doctors surrounding my bed. They're like, we don't know what's wrong yet. We're going to send you for scans. I go for scans, I come back from the scans, there's now 3 doctors surrounding my bed. I go to sleep Tuesday evening, I wake up Wednesday morning, I'm eating breakfast, and suddenly there are 4 doctors coming to me being like, we think we know what's wrong. You need to stop eating right now. We're going to prep you for emergency surgery. We need to get this done as soon as possible. So good luck. And I was just like, holy crap. Okay, let's do this. They scheduled me for 2 p.m. Somehow it was shifted to 12 noon, and I just was like, okay, let's do this. So I stripped naked, which is very weird, and put on this little thing that they give you, go and get ready to be operated on. And like they just came and said like, okay, no, you're gonna go to the operation now, you need to like change. And I was just like, let me just call my mom. And I called my mom and I told her like, they're gonna operate now. Okay. And I had to sign all sorts of forms. It was really, really crazy. And giving them consent to extract things and take things out, and all sorts of stuff. And it was just very, very scary because of the COVID lockdown and things. I wasn't allowed to see family, I wasn't allowed to have visitors. My brother that brought me clothes had to literally hand it to the security guard. He checked it over, sprayed it, and passed it to me on the other end of a table. I couldn't even hug him or talk to him or anything. It was so sad, like heart-wrenchingly sad. I was so upset about that, but I made it through. So just to continue, Wednesday noon, went for the op, came out at about 4:30, somewhere there, and called my mom. I was sorted out, and by the next morning I had breakfast, and then they came and they were just like, okay, we need your bed, you need to leave, goodbye. So 4 days in and out of hospital, operation done, I was gone. I went home, and they needed to make four incisions in different parts of my stomach, because they weren't going to open up completely for the surgery. So they just like opened certain like cuts and like through my navel, and then operated. And what had happened was a mass had formed on my right tube, I think, and that's fine. However, it decided to twist on itself and twist the tube around, causing extreme pain. So I essentially had to give them my consent to cut off my entire right tube if things got worse, which I honestly think is insane, because I mean, if you are passing out from pain, being given morphine for that pain, constantly, not in your right state of mind, how can you sign waivers and things to say do whatever you need to do, doctor, operate on me however you please. Like, that is not right. But anyway, so I had to give him that permission, and this thing decided to twist on itself, causing me pain, and they eventually had to remove it, which they did, and they had it tested, and it was not cancerous, which was a blessing, because both my mother's parents died of different kinds of cancers. So my mother's father died of lung cancer that spread up to the throat by the time he died, and my grandmother was low intestinal cancer, if I'm not mistaken, but it was like the stomach and the intestines and stuff. So, like, cancer is a real thing. So I was just like, no cancer, good to know, like, happy. So it was basically 4 days in hospital, third day they operated, fourth day I was out and back home to recover. That was my stay in hospital. That was my time in hospital. The stay itself was horrendous. The service was even worse. Like, there was a woman who had had a miscarriage. She didn't know she was pregnant. She was 7 weeks. 7 weeks? Yeah, 7 weeks pregnant. And she had miscarried. She didn't know she was pregnant. She just miscarried. And she'd been there since the day before me, but we left at the same time. But with that, she was bleeding afterwards, and she needed sanitary towels. And at one point, she needed a new sanitary towel, and this lady, who was a nurse, she asked her, like, I need a new one, it's urgent, like, can you please help me? And she's like, oh no, there isn't any at the moment, and just walked on. And then I went to another nurse and was like, she said there isn't any. And then she's like, okay, no, tell her to go look for some. She went to supposedly go look for some, came back, there was none. And she just said, oh no, there isn't any. And she's like, but I need some, what are you going to do? She literally went to a dispenser, pulled out 4 hard tissues. They're not even tissues, they're like those like napkin things that dispense from like a McDonald's or like a bathroom, those hard crusty ones. She pulled out 4 of those and put it on a bed and said, okay, there we go, and walked off. I swear to you, if I wasn't in such extreme agony at this point in time, because this was before I had my op, I think I would have honestly committed murder. Like, how dare you? It's your job as a nurse to assist your patients, and how dare you not do that? It baffled me. And that wasn't the only incident. There are many that I'm not even going to talk about. But the fact that they didn't do what they are supposed to do just did so many things to me. I cannot even remember how I stood it. I remember at one point asking for pain medication. And I didn't know at the time, but they had been giving me morphine because the pain was that strong. And every time they asked, like, are you in pain? I'm like, yes. Are you in pain? Yes. And they gave me pills and it doesn't help. And then they eventually gave me morphine. And she gave me the morphine, took a walk, came back about 15 minutes later and was like, are you still in pain? I'm like, yes. Why did you give me? Like, this is not working. And she's like, I gave you morphine. It should be working by now. Like, I'm just like, well, clearly it's not. But that's just how bad the pain was, that morphine wasn't even working for me. And the fact that she had no sympathy and was just like, well, it worked, I'm gonna get you some like pain tablets and hopefully it's gonna... I swear she gave me Panados. Like, how is that even a thing? But that's what happened. I'm not even gonna harp on that anymore. Like, what's done is done. But that was where I've been, and that was my time in hospital. I'm currently still recovering. They had to make 4 incisions in order to operate, and one of them kind of didn't heal properly and kind of opened up the stitching again, so that is taking extra time to heal. This literally happened last weekend and just stopped me from living my life. So that's why I didn't upload last week, which once again I apologize for. But I'm back on track. So here we go. Um, One thing I have definitely learned out of this whole experience is that you cannot take your life for granted. Like, I was laying in that hospital bed thinking, like, good Lord, what if I die? Or even like, how have I been living? They say you don't live until you nearly die, and like, I finally get what that means, because this this experience has just been wild. So I finally get to not take my life for granted, and especially in this time of COVID where everyone is frantically scared of what's going to happen in the future, I think it's essential that we look at how we are living our lives. And this whole thing has given me a new perspective, which I'm actually going to talk about in next week's podcast. Well, next week's podcast. So, hope I haven't rambled on too much. The song for this week is I Will Survive by Demi Lovato. It's that old classic song, but with a more modern, upbeat vibe. So that is my song for this week. I hope you enjoy this, and I will speak to you next week. Love you. Bye.